Every time we enter a World War II game or a movie, we might notice that the Allies and Nazi Germany used not only different weapons, but also different types of hand grenades. For example, on the USSR side, there was the F1 grenade, popularly known as the Limonka or lemon, while the German side used the peculiar stick grenade. Today, let's find out their pros and cons, the unique features of these grenades, and why the different sides of the conflict chose them. It is generally believed that the Soviet F1 grenade was officially used by the USSR starting from 1940. However, it turns out that the Soviet grenade was merely a copy of the French F1 grenade, which appeared in 1915. As for the name Limonka, it emerged during World War I. Many believe the grenade got its name due to its characteristic lemon-like shape, but here's the thing. The French version of the grenade had a very imperfect fuse, which could detonate upon accidental impact to the grenade's body, requiring great caution in handling. At the same time, the British used grenades with a smooth body and a more reliable pin-activated fuse, the design of Captain Lemon. The name turned out to be telling, and since the Russian army used grenades of various systems, most of which were French, the name Limonka was transferred to them, although initially that's what they called the British grenades. On the other side of the battlefields, we have the Stahlhandgranate, which literally translates from German as stick hand grenade. The grenade was developed in Germany during World War I and was first introduced into service in 1916. In 1923 to 1924, minor changes were made to the original design, resulting in the grenade being designated as the Stahlhandgranate 24. It was produced in this modification and remained in service with the Wehrmacht until the end of World War II. Accordingly, in English and Russian military literature, it was conventionally called the M-21 grenade, that is, the 1924 model grenade. As a result, the M-24 became a symbol of Nazi military might during World War II, as it stood out in the arsenal with its special tactical flexibility, providing an advantage in open spaces and close combat. Here are a couple of interesting facts about the Soviet grenade. In the USSR, the fuse of the Limonka was refined and improved based on the system of engineer-designed Fyodor Kovashnikov, after which it would explode after 3.5 to 4.5 seconds. By the way, such a grenade worked exactly like the grenades used today. The safety pin was simply pulled out and the grenade was ready to be thrown. Moreover, at that time, special grooves appeared on the body along and across the casing, and it was along these that the grenade would break apart. Because of these features, British soldiers started calling it the pineapple, and soldiers from the Balkan Peninsula called it the turtle. The F1 had another interesting feature. Its fragments flew over a vast distance, up to 200 meters. Because of this, even the soldier using it could be injured, so the F1 was thrown only from cover. The M24 also had a bunch of interesting features. For example, to arm such a grenade, one had to pull a cord that ran from the fuse of the warhead to the bottom of the wooden handle. Pulling it created friction, which ignited the grenade's delay fuse. After pulling the cord, the explosion was supposed to occur after 4 to 5 seconds, but often the explosion happened later, approximately after 8 seconds. The absence of an explosion after 10 to 30 seconds indicated that the fire hadn't reached the detonator or the detonator hadn't worked, in which case the grenade no longer posed a danger. Another interesting point was that, unlike a regular grenade, the M24's wooden handle increased the convenience and accuracy of the throw. If the oval body of a regular grenade could roll on the ground for some time after landing, the stick at the end of the M24 immediately stopped the grenade upon landing. Also, for example, a bundle of 7 such grenades allowed soldiers to destroy entire tanks. For this, the handles of 6 grenades were carefully unscrewed. The remaining warheads were wrapped around the 7th grenade with wire, creating a massive explosion. But that's not all. Let's now look at the disadvantages of these two opposing grenades. Among the minuses of the F1, it's worth noting that soldiers most often carried such grenades on their belt or chest. This might not have mattered much in an urban setting, but in the field conditions of war, the safety rings of the grenades very often caught on branches or other protruding objects. Consequently, the grenade would instantly arm, leaving only 4 seconds to realize what had happened. Often, in the heat of battle, soldiers might simply not notice this and would be blown up by their own grenades. Similar incidents also occurred during calm times in the trench when the pin accidentally came off the grenade on the belt while trying to get up to warm dinner over a fire. Later, soldiers on the Allied side began to additionally secure the grenade's lever so that even if the ring was accidentally pulled out, the lever would remain in place and thus not start the timer countdown. The M-24 wasn't without its drawbacks either. Although the wooden handle seemed to provide an advantage, it was also a disadvantage. While limonkas could be attached, 4 or 5 at a time, to the gear without causing inconvenience, the long sticks protruding from the warhead often hindered soldiers from moving normally, poking into various body parts while running, or forced them to place the grenades on their gear in less convenient places. Also, because the M-24's timers often lasted longer than the prescribed 4.5 seconds, Soviet allies could manage to throw such a grenade back at the Germans, resulting in them sometimes suffering from the blast of their own grenades. Both these grenades could also be used to set up tripwires. In the case of the limonka, one only had to fix the grenade in the corner of a doorway and stretch a wire along it, the end of which was attached to the ring. But the downside was that upon activating the tripwire, one could hear the lever flying off and have a couple of seconds before the explosion to run to a safer place. The German M-24 had no such lever and was less noisy in this regard, so in terms of tripwires, it could score more points than our limonka. Modern hand grenades have come a long way since the Soviet F-1 limonka and the German M-24 stick grenade. With new designs, materials and safety features, they're much more effective and reliable in battle. The F-1 grenade was made with a rough cast iron shell that broke into fragments, creating deadly shrapnel over a wide area. It had about 60 grams of TNT, and its fragments could reach up to 200 meters, which sometimes posed a risk to the person throwing it if they weren't in cover. The M-24, on the other hand, had a metal head filled with TNT attached to a wooden handle, which allowed for a longer throw but wasn't as focused on fragmentation. Its blast was lethal up to about 10 meters. Today's grenades, like the US M67, are made with more advanced materials. The M67 has a smooth, spherical steel body with about 180 grams of a powerful explosive mix. This allows for a more controlled spread of shrapnel, making it safer for the user while still being very effective. The M67's lethal radius is about 5 meters, with fragments potentially reaching up to 15 meters, enough for strong impact but more controlled compared to the F1. In terms of throwing range, the M24 had an advantage thanks to its long handle, which allowed soldiers to throw it up to 40 meters. However, the handle made it bulky and awkward to carry. The F1 was compact and easier to handle, but could only be thrown about 30 to 35 meters. Modern grenades like the M67 are well balanced and can be thrown accurately around the same distance, 30 to 35 meters, without the need for a long handle. Safety has also improved a lot. The F1's pin sometimes got caught, leading to accidental explosions, while the M24's fuse delay was often unpredictable. Modern grenades are designed with multiple safety features, like clips and consistent timers, making accidental activation much less likely. The M67's fuse, for example, has a steady 4-second delay that soldiers can rely on. Overall, modern grenades combine damage, range, and safety, making them much easier and safer to use in combat than their World War II predecessors. But it's interesting to think, if the other side had won World War II, would 21st century grenades still look like the F1 we see now, or would modern wars be fought with stick-like grenades? Write what you think about this in the comments, and of course, don't forget to like this video and subscribe to the channel.